Good morning, everybody. Natalie coming to you live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. hmm Chocolate pignon coffee. So yummy. So yeah, forgive me for just looking like I rolled out of bed because oh my gosh, I don't know. How are people feeling? What are people feeling? I would just love to hear from you guys. So there's tons of it. Again, I think I keep saying it. There's tons of information floating around everywhere. People not knowing which way to look, what to believe, what not to believe. And again, I highly, highly urge that you do your own research. Do your own. And when I say do your own research, now it's funny because people will do their own research and then, they're reading stuff that's not true, basically. By doing your own research, make sure that it's a reliable source. Now, I don't mean a source like maybe these news outlets and media and stuff like that. The propaganda around all that is all fear based. And I think people pretty much know that. Um, but you can find peer review articles and stuff like that. You can find them in Google Scholar. Some of them are free. Some of them you have to pay for, but a lot of them are, if you're into the scientific um, studies, you can look at the scientific studies that have been done um, with people, that kind of stuff. Also, looking at who is putting out the information and knowing who's putting out the information, really, really understanding who it is and who you're following. It's critical. People shouldn't just be following anything. That's what I believe. Just like I say, don't just follow me because you follow me. Follow me because because I'm telling you to go follow yourself. Basically. Um, so a lot of good morning, whoever's on here. So I think we talked about what you can control and what you can't control in this situation. And I think that that's going to be a common theme, and that's going to be another, again, critical and important for individuals to sort of look at in as we move through this situation. Okay, as we move through the world, as we begin to see certain things that are unfolding that are kind of weird, right? They look distorted at this point. I think the world is like, let's just say that it was what's happened worldwide is not something that most people anticipated. Nobody really knew. I mean, we all knew that eventually things had to change. We knew we were at the breaking point of change, the precipice of change, and we understood this. And we all started to say, well, how is it going to look? How are we going to change? And then it was hard because people were trying to do it in their own ways, and all of a sudden we get hit, boom, and bombarded with, well, this is how it's going to change. And so we've seen this total distortion, um what I call distortion, or disruption, or whatever however you want to label it, right? However you want to perceive it, sort of start to occur. And this it's distorted right now. Most people are like, out of left field, good morning, Tana. Like, what in the world kind of world am I living in, right? Good morning, Sandra. And it's because when things change, when things shift, there's this big slap in the face. Good morning. I don't know who that was, but good morning. Please tell me good morning if I don't say your name. It's because I don't see you here. It's like a big slap in the face. Like it just came out of nowhere, right? You're like, wait, what? And I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Jackie Chan. Oh God, I can't remember what it's. Shanghai Night. No, it's not with him. It's Chris Tucker. Anyway, I can't remember the name of the movies. And the guy, he gets kicked by one of the guys, and he's like, "Which one of you all? What? Who did that?" That's sort of what we're experiencing at this point. We're getting slapped in the face left and right, and then we're like, "Wait, who? What? Who did that? Which one was it? Was it that one? Was it this one?" And we're confused, right? We're sort of in this whirlwind of confusion, and we want to place blame. We want to point fingers. We want to, say it's this person, that person. And the reality is, it's the way life has to happen. In other words, it's a promise that was given. And I'll throw in a little bit of my beliefs. My belief is that this was the promise that was given to us in prophecy ages and ages ago. There's historical books written about it, that there would be this sort of um, weirdness that happened in the new era. And that's what we're doing. We're transitioning and we're fully on Aquarius right now, where it's like, what would be thrown at us? We didn't quite know how that was going to come out. Now we're in the phase where we've been slapped in the face and we're like, okay, now what? And sometimes we start to feel like we're drowning in all of the information, right? Like you can't get out of the currents and the waves that are coming, right? It's like the waves are coming too fast. There's too, and so maybe I don't know if everybody's experiencing this, right? But I know from my personal experience. So whatever you guys are experiencing, please share, right? Because I can only speak from my experience. But I always love to hear yours. And the feeling of, and if you relate to this, cool. The feeling of too many waves coming at once that you can't even find the surface. You can't even break the surface to breathe, right? Notice that this whole pandemic's about the breath. It's all about suffocation, the whole thing, like everything's about the breath, right? Restricting the breath, telling us we can't breathe naturally in the natural world, um, that it's a respiratory virus that we're getting that has to do with the lungs, that they don't want us to speak, right? That they don't want us to speak what what our truth is. That's all about the breath, us speaking up, or whatever it is, it's all about the breath and the suffocation of the information that keeps coming, right? So it's a lot of it is fear based, right? And that's what they do. Hi, mama. Interesting metaphor. So thanks. If you have any other cool ones, let me know. I'm always down to hear other people's information. Um, but what I feel is a suffocation of information too. So everything is about the breath and suffocation at this point. It's almost like somebody's force feeding you food to eat and you can't keep up. And you're just like, stop, I don't want it anymore. Now, I don't know if that's what you guys are experiencing. Um, but it's definitely what I'm experiencing. I imagine most people are feeling this way. And the reason why is because nobody knows what the hell is going on. Nobody truly knows what's going on. Everybody's sort of trying to figure it out. Everybody has pieces of the puzzle. Everybody's trying to put their theories out there. Why? Because they want to place the blame. They want somebody to take responsibility for what has happened. They want somebody, or a group of people. They want people to step up and say, "Yes, I'm the reason that this has happened." The reality is, it doesn't freaking matter. Who cares? Because the more that you focus on that, right? There's this thing that we say in magic and in spiritual alchemy, right? In the work that I do, is that, well, all of this is happening and everybody's trying to figure out who the killer is. The killer's killing, right? So, well, we're caught up in all of this conundrum, in the whirlwind, in the chaos, right? If you can allow yourself to be in the calm of the storm, if you can find yourself in the center and find your peace, if you can come back to that place, right, then you can start to say that it's all irrelevant. None of it is relevant. And what do I mean by that? I mean that we sort of understand the outer surface of what is happening. We know the facts, we know what we're experiencing. But when we come back to the center, we start to begin and we begin to understand how we feel about it. What's true for you, not what's true for the world, what's true for you. How are you feeling in this whole situation? What feels real for you? And by real, I mean what triggers your body. There's a physical sensation, like stop cutting your body off from the experience. Some people are numbing themselves. Some people are having anxiety, and they don't even realize it because there's so much suffocation around you. Everything is about the breath and suffocation. We cannot live without the breath. And it's just quite amazing that that's what's being utilized, right? Is the breath. Why? Because food, we could go without food for quite some time. We can go out with water, we can go for quite some time. It'd be painful, of course, right? Good morning, Real Talk. Um, Brender, 123, good morning. Good morning, Auntie Christine. Um, but we can't go without breath. And we're getting suffocated from every corner. How do we detach from that? How do we allow ourselves to breathe, to have room to breathe, right? Part of it is I say get outside for sure, disconnect from social media, which is something I even thought like, I'm not even going to do Facebook anymore. I'm going to move my platform because you know, Facebook for me, I used to use it to spread love and peace and harmony. And I'm looking at these social platforms. I'm sort of like, I think I've told you guys before. Good morning, Tony, a watcher on the wall. And I'm kind of watching people's behavior on Facebook. It's what I do. Now, I'm looking at the behavior of individuals, and maybe it's within my own realm, or maybe it's what's coming up for me, and I'm not sure why, but the majority of, or the sense that I'm getting from individuals is separation. Separation, okay? Good morning, Manoj. Good morning, Six Beautiful Chaos. And the separation that I'm seeing, right, is it's a fight. It's a fight of who's right and wrong. And to me, it's so disheartening. It's disheartening because unity is what we need at this point. Unity, not separation. And I've talked about it quite a bit on my Spirit and Coffee about how do we come back to unity? How do we, even when like we're so opinionated about what we think is the right way, really, who has the right way? There is no right way. There is no right way. And you start to hear, if you really listen to your politicians, to your people, listen to the words that they're utilizing. Just listen to them. Write it down. I wanted to do a transcript of what our governor was saying, and I wanted to do it because there's all of these double think type things going on in their language, and I'm like, wait, you're confusing the shit out of the population. You're saying this is good, and then you're saying, but it's okay, do it anyway. It's not that great, it's not really going to help, but do it anyway. It's like, what do you mean? I don't understand. Why are we doing things that you're saying doesn't even help, right? And so it's confusing, and like we're trying to make sense of it, right? Do we listen? Do we not listen? Do we just be, so people are just sort of, and then what ends up happening is it seeps into the very fabric of everything that exists. And by that I mean everything, like all of our social media platforms, okay? It'll start to seep into that, and it already has. All of our news, right? All of our conversations that we talk to with people and individuals, right? And it's looking at what is the dialect, what is the conversation in your household, what is the conversation between you and your people. Really being aware of that at this point is going to be critical, right? This is a spiritual war. Has nothing to do, this is not a chemical war. I mean, people would say it is, okay? So that's fine. Whatever you think in terms of how this virus is, and I'm not going to get into that, but spiritually, it is a spiritual battle because it is testing the very, very fabric of everything that we know to be true. It's testing us. It's testing us, and people are standing up and they're fighting against each other. And while that separation happens and while the people fight, the agendas of anybody else is doing whatever they're doing. This is called magic. They use separation, they use fear, they use, by they, I'm going to say the people that have been in control, that have sort of steered an agenda in a certain way. They use it in a way to manipulate, right? Now, don't listen to what I'm telling you, just listen to the words that people talk. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's simple in the fact that they say these things and then people just go, yeah, that sounds good, but they don't really listen to what they're saying. Really listen to people. When you just listen, you can hear, you can find you, with the language that they use will sort of reveal the intention of what they want to do. So really it's understanding, what am I listening to and what is the intention of this individual? This, because when you do that, you're like, ah, okay, I can see that there is all this double think happening. I can see that. So what are they truly trying to do? What is their true intention? Is it truly what they say? Because I can say my intention, right, is to love the world, right? And then I could talk about love and I can talk about all this stuff, right? But if I talked long enough, if people just shut up and let me talk, and I continue to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and nobody said anything to interject, eventually, if my intention was love, it would actually come out in my language. But if it wasn't, and I talked long enough, you would hear the disconnect in my language where it would steer me in the opposite direction. So is that's manipulation. Okay. Really important to look at who is, if you're confused, if you're caught up in the wash, you're like, I don't know what to listen to. I'm suffocating in information, right? I always say disconnect from everything and listen to God. Like that's me. I'll listen to God, but I trust God in this whole thing. God's promise will be fulfilled regardless. Whatever that is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. We've had prophets talk about it, the end days, the end times. And by end days and end times, I don't mean the world's going to disappear, because that's no, it's not what I mean. But the end times, and I had talked about the end times it's been a long time, maybe about a year ago. I was talking about end of time and what that meant, right? The end of time just means that we are going to be confused about time, that time will no longer be relevant. And that's what we're seeing. And this is something that I understood a long time ago. That's what the end times mean. We are. Nobody knows what day it is. There's even memes out there. The worst thing I spent my money on was a planner for 2020, because I'm not going to ever use it. People forgetting what days, missing meetings. They're like, wait, what time is it? How is time? Time is speeding up, time is slowing down, time is irrelevant. And so it's kind of funny. So now we're in this end of times where time is confused, or we're confused about time. It's purpose. This is purposefully, right? There's the promise, right, in the end of times, that we would sort of come into this whole other kind of a paradise, right, or different density or dimension, or a whole new earth, right, or they call it the new earth, of like this whole new beginning. And there's been prophecy around this. Okay. There's books written about it, the land of milk and honey, right, where we were promised a land that was beautiful and harmonious once more. Okay. So it's all part of the story. It looks like it's playing out pretty quickly here. I mean, I can say that it sort of feels like the promises are being fulfilled. It looks like it. Can I say for sure? No, but it certainly looks like it. It seems to match up to what was promised ages and eons ago. And we're right at the change, or we're right at the beginning of a new era. I mean, when you look at all of the information, it sort of looks that way, right? So it's kind of just understanding this, and being very careful about who you listen to. Now, the drowning part and the suffocation part truly is an opportunity for you to disconnect, right? So there's sort of this digital era thing that's happening, and there's two, sort of like two things happening, and there's a lot more, but I've pegged it down to two things, where we have the digital era, and then we have the old school way of doing things, right? And we're sort of in this transition phase of like who is going to enter into the digital era, who is going to be in what I call the digital era's reincarnation. This is what I've come up with, right? This is how I see it and perceive it. I don't believe in an eternal hell, where people burn to death and that kind of stuff like that. No, I believe that every soul will eventually go back to source, go back to God, but each soul has their own little journey that they need to go through. And each journey, and there's nothing to fear in it, each journey is an opportunity to ascend, to remember, to wake up, to remember your power, to remember that you're enough, to remember that you are God in motion, and that you do have love in your heart, and that you are this beautiful soul that is a child of God, that you do have that. Okay. But there's this sort of like, I feel at now that we're at this change where you can reincarnate, or you can say, I choose not to, I choose out. Now, some people who want to choose out may not be ready. They think they are, but they're not because they haven't prepared. Sort of like, I should have had things set up for myself and been prepared for this moment. And the way that you would have been prepared for this moment is by following God's word all day, every day. And by God's word, I don't mean a book like like just the Bible. And I know people think, whatever I say the word God, I think it triggers stuff or people. That's not what I mean. God and you have a very personal relationship. That's not a relationship that you need to tell anybody about because it's personal between you and God. Okay. And the way that you engage that relationship is totally, when it's done with right intention and a good heart, will always lead you to truth, right? The truth, your truth, not capital T, the truth, but small t, the truth, your truth. And it'll guide you in the direction that's righteous. So you don't have to go to some magical person or guru. It exists within you. You have the power within you. You just got to be so determined and persistent, that it'll lead you to the same information. And here's how I know. I will do my own research. I read a lot, and beyond reading, I pray a lot, and beyond praying, I listen a lot. I listen. Show me. I pray. Show me the path. Show me the way. And guess what? God always delivers. And this is why I believe in God, because God always delivers. I have faith and I know. Why? Because it always shows up. What's needed in that moment always will show up. So I'm never lacking. Now, does it show up the way I want it to? Not all the time. But this is where gratitude comes in. Like, I'm grateful because now I'm one step closer to really understanding who I am, understanding the power that exists within me. So this is a very, very personal journey that we're on. And when we start to point fingers, we stop making it about ourselves. We stop making it about what's important to us, and we start to live into the illusion of separation. Good morning, Wise Mackie. Good morning, Man Cave. Yes, I'm still spreading love, mama. And the reality is I was like, I don't even know if I can do this anymore, right? If I can I've been doing Spirit and Coffee for over 2 years, and I did it and I love it. I absolutely love it. And then I started just seeing all of the separation, all of the cruelty. I felt like, people's souls were on their journey to God and love and compassion and understanding and kindness. And then all of a sudden, good morning, Dave. I just in an instant saw this huge separation, and I'm like, oh, come on, ego. Ego is, and I call it ego, right? Because it is. It's just the ego. You could call it Agent Smith. You could give it whatever name you choose to. It is just everywhere. And it is just suffocating the life force out of people. Don't let it suck your life force. Don't allow it to. Remember who you are. You're powerful. You're so powerful. You're going to let some little ego diminish who you are and everything that you've worked for, because most people work their whole life to find themselves to harmony. And all of a sudden, one little thing gives us amnesia and we separate. Just like that. Boom. And there's players, of course, there's players who are playing into feeding the separation, right? It's if we looked at it and said this is all an illusion, right? And this is very hard for people to bite off because they're like, but it's not, it's very real. Okay, yes, it's very real. We're all going through shit. I get that. We are. All of us. We all go through suffering, all of us, right? But if we can remember that the suffering, the root of the suffering comes from the separation. That's what it is. Us versus them. Me versus you. Black versus white, light versus dark, no mask versus mask. These are separation tactics. There's ways to distinguish separation. They do it purposefully. And who? The ego. Okay, we're going to say the ego. And the ego drops into people. People play out this ego's agenda. Okay, so we're just going to say it that way. The agenda of the ego is to say we are different. We are not different. We are the same. Okay, we're the same in love. When we can bring ourselves back to love, when we can figure out how to do this. Okay. And it's sad. It makes me sad because I saw in just a second, like unity was. Let's just think about this. Let's rewind. Let's go back in time just a little bit. Okay. When we had, and I'm talking from America. Okay. When we had President Trump in office. Okay. I'm just gonna go there. This is not a political thing, but this is just to show you what I'm talking about. Okay. When we go back in time, we remember that Trump was elected president. Now, some people were pissed, and I told this story before my Spirit and Coffee when he got elected, actually. And my friend asked me, "How do you feel about that?" And I said, "Actually, I'm excited." And everybody was pissed, right? A lot of my friends were not happy about this, right? They didn't like him, whatever. Okay, didn't matter to me. I'm not political. I just love people, regardless. So I said, I'm excited, and I'm going to tell you why I'm excited. I'm excited because he's going to talk about separation on a mass scale, and that's going to unite people on a mass scale, which was super cool, right? For me, it was like the unity that was going to happen was going to be phenomenal. And that's exactly what happened. We saw all of these people start to unite. We had women marching together in unity. You know, people were coming together in as one, and and then we remembered that we were one, like for that instant. And it made me cry to see so many people uniting. And I was like, yes, this is what life's about. It's about us coming together, remembering that we're one. We're not separate. And then time goes on, time goes on, time goes on, time goes on. And then you have people fighting about political parties again, of course, or whatever. Who cares? And then all of a sudden, this happens. Okay. And when this happens, there's this huge separation in an instant. Now people are fighting. I've never seen so much fighting on at least my Facebook platform. I don't know how your Facebook platform is, right? And I never had issues with Facebook. I'm like, why do people like they get off? They're like, I can't handle it's too much drama and da, da. And I'm like, I never experienced drama on there. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the people I talk to. But now I'm like, holy crap! Every single day, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna need to disconnect. And I don't even know that I want to do Spirit and Coffee on Facebook anymore because it just goes against everything that love is, right? It's the opposite of what love is. But then I thought, no, that's the place I need to be. What the hell am I thinking? And of course, God talks to me and I talk to God and I say, look, God, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I don't even know if it's helping. I don't even know if this is supporting, right? If this is helping people, if this is what am I to do, right? I'm here to be a vessel of you and just guide me. I don't know where to go from here. It's almost like you're drowning. Like I said, it feels like I'm drowning in the waves and I don't know how to get up to breathe so that I can be of service because that's what I choose to do is be in service to humanity in some way. And in an instant, we somehow forgot. And now we're pointing fingers of who's right, who's wrong, who's this, who's that. I'm like, you know what? No. There's people living their lives. There's people not on Facebook. I'd rather disconnect from that. And I'd rather enjoy the connection of life itself, which is the birds, the trees, remembering that our mother's with us, sitting down with my family, connecting truly with my friends, the way that we should, right? The natural way, not the digital way, having conversations with my family, and then reading, right? Coming to my room and reading, which I enjoy. I cannot fix, and that's not my job to fix what I see happening in the world. It's my job to teach, right? So that people can fix themselves. Really, at the end of the day, it's what it's about. So, how do we fix ourselves in this? Remember, we're not separate. I've said this message a trillion times, and I swear to God, we get amnesia easily. I know it. That's why I keep saying it. I've said it for 2 years. I'm saying it to myself because it's so easy to be tricked by the ego. The ego is a very tricky thing, very, very tricky. It'll seep into places and then aha, and then we're like, shit, it got me again, damn it. But it's okay because if you recognize it and you're able to bring yourself back to love, then it's like, okay, all right, ego, you're not going to win the battle. You can't win, but it's going to take your spiritual discipline. And I like that, self-awareness and discipline. Yes, let's read what you said, Wise Mackie. I hope you're still on here. We must comprehend the personal aliveness of ourselves that's going to accompany our purpose. Our one our lesson, sorry, it cuts it off. Our lessons is the message, oops, is in the message we put out as well. Yeah. Yeah, the message that we put out, which is hard too. It's a lot of responsibility, right? To sit here and be authentic and the ego never goes away, but is tamed by, yeah, it doesn't go away and it is tamed. And let me tell you, I've said make friends with that ego and admit when it is. Hi, right spirit. Okay, John, Jonah, self-awareness. Yes. Good morning, Julie. So, my mom, you can't stop. The people on Facebook need you and the cat that they say ugly things. Don't stop what you're doing. Thank you, Mama. Good morning, Betty. But yeah, and then I saw, I really I started to watch these videos. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of information going on out there, a lot of who do we point the fingers at? Just remember, always remember it is the ego. It's the ego. And the players that want to play into the ego are going to play it out. They're going to play it out. And should we be mad at them? No. Forgive them for they know not what they do. And if they do know what they do, then they understand the consequences that come with what they do because they're choosing it. Some people don't know what they're doing. Some people don't understand. Some people will allow the manipulation and the ego to absorb into every fabric of their mind, spirit, body, and their DNA, and they'll play it out. And then all of a sudden, when they've reached like the pits and they're like, wait, what did I just do? They sort of wake up, right? And that's what we call the awakening. The awakening is not some big mystical magical thing. It's just the recognition that sometimes the ego is there and the ego will operate in us. And the ego is tricky as all hell. I'm telling you right now, the ego's tricky and it lives in everybody. And yes, it takes self discipline, right? Make friends with it. because it doesn't go away. And you're absolutely right in that. And I love that response because most people are like, how do I get rid of it? You don't get rid of it. That's the point. You don't. You learn. You learn to recognize and distinguish when it's ego operating or love. I have to distinguish daily. There were times, and it's funny because you'll see sort of my own thought process through this entire pandemic and and how I changed the way that I view it every single day, right? Because that's what we get to do. We get to shift in the way that we approach life. It doesn't have to be static, right? There's this dynamic thing that we can do where we shift and we say, oh yeah, now I have more information, maybe I'm going to change my mind about that. Oh, now I have more information. Okay, let me look at this information. What's real for me here? How do I engage in this information that I'm receiving? You'll see that there's an internal process because it's a spiritual battle, and there are pieces of ego weaved into the fabric of what I say because ego cannot be denied. I will call my ego out. That's the difference. Some people are so ashamed of their ego. I didn't do it. I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm perfect. Okay, that's ego right there. Yeah, you did. Okay, we all do. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Just admit it and ask for forgiveness. Yay. Good morning, Maggie's. Great conversation, Big Amen from Georgia Free Bay, West Australia. Ooh, Australia. Good morning, Suze. I like when Suze gets on here. Thanks, Betty. Hmm. Okay. How's Australia? I just saw that they were saving the koalas. I don't know what's going on. I know that the big fires and stuff. You guys have had a really bad kind of, I don't know if I want to say bad, but interesting set of circumstances out there. Prayers and love to you out there. So again, remember who you are, remember the ego in operation. Remember, I would say that the majority of the population does not want to be operated by the ego solely. There are very few people, I believe, that operate in ego. And some of those people I would say are probably in power right now. And I think I talked about this before. It's not a judgment call. It's more like the way people are wired. And there's certain characters that have to take on certain things for the storyline or the plot or the illusion or the promise God made us, whatever you want to call it, to play out. It can't happen otherwise. So there's nothing to fear. Look at the players, kind of ask yourself, is this player operating fully in ego? Are they aware that they have the ego? I mean, these are really good questions to ask. Is the person operating from ego or love? That's it. Real quick question. Simple question. Okay. And maybe you can't talk to them face to face, but you can listen and pick up on the words that they use. This is a lot of how I listen to people and I'm going like, do they hear what they're saying? And some people are like, that's good. And I'm like, no, did you not hear? Look at the words that they're using. Do you not hear the words they're using? None of it makes sense. They just said this and now they're saying this. So what is it really? Okay. So listening to the words that people say, that's critical. Okay. And ask yourself, okay, like this is a judgment and I'm going to say it. I try not to put judgments in here, but it happens, right? I'm human. I'm not God. I'm God in motion, but I'm not God. So I'm not going to be perfect, right? You're amazingly on point. Thanks, Wise Nikki. I appreciate it. Um, so let's look at it. We have sort of these characters, right, that are in power, or they're up there calling some shots and whatever. And I call them psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists. Those are three of the main things. I want to talk about this for just a second. It's not a I'm not saying it laughing at them like, haha, they're psychopaths and da da da. That's not what I'm doing. This is not a name calling thing. This is not for me to feel better about this. And this is to understand the psyche of the people that are leading this stuff, to understand where are they coming from? Do they have an agenda? It's just asking questions. Like, what is your purpose? What are you doing? If I got in front of them, I'd ask them I'd probably get killed because I ask a lot of questions. I'm just a curious person. It's not a judgment call. I just want to know. I want to understand. And I'm looking at these people and I'm like, there's no way that they couldn't be psychopaths, right? And why? Because if you listen to them, right? If you listen to what they're saying and you look at them, there's it's like all pure manipulation, right? Now here's the deal. The manipulation is fear. It's fear based, or it's tricky in the way that it can lure you in and make. So there's a couple ways to manipulate, right? You can manipulate through fear. Okay, like if you do this, this is going to happen to you, you better not do it, you know. So there's that. Now then there's thank you, Ice Mackie, I appreciate that. So then there's also this, okay, so there's the fear. There's also this other type of manipulation, and they call it I think they call it the red. Oh, there was a movie with Jennifer Lewis in it. It was the red something, the red swan, the red something. I can't remember what it's called, but she lures men in with sexuality, right? So there's that. This is the shadow side of the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, where it's like, come here, child. I'll buy you off, right? I'll pay you all this money if you just da da da, or I'll give you all the pleasures that you need, right? They play into our pleasures and what life is, and that's manipulation, right? Not caring what the outcome is, not caring what the consequences are. Okay, look at the people that are in play right now. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Is just look and ask yourself questions. That's all you got to do. Ask questions like, okay, well, do they really truly care about what they're doing? What is their agenda? What are they talking about? Let me listen. Let me truly listen. Take notes. Write down words you don't understand that they say. Really look at the etymology of a word. Go back and really research what they're saying, and then you're going to see the story right in front of you. People say follow the money. You could do that too. I say follow the language. Follow the language. Languages are symbols. They help us to articulate the perceptions that we have in the world. Language is everything. Symbology is everything. How many people can see the subliminal manipulation of the governments? You have been thinking and consciously curious, like you said, I need to know the truth. Yeah. And and that's it. It's just asking that question. I need to know the truth. What is the truth? And when you go on the spiral of looking for it's a rabbit hole. God knows I'm Alice. I've been down every hole, and at the end of the day, it's not about conspiracy theories and blah, 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 blah. It's about understanding who you are and who are the players. When you know the players on the field, think of this as a game. If you know who the players are, you know how to engage the game. That's it. If you're engaging in love, good evening, Pete Pant. If you're engaging in love, if you're playing the game in love, you're playing in God's field, right? You have to be 100% confident and logical. Yeah. Logic, I know. And logos. Logos. See, logic, logo, which is what? Words, symbols, logos, logical, logo. Okay. So you guys have the ability to do this. Okay. Don't be afraid to go down the rabbit hole. It's only going to give you insight as to who you are. Recognize the players. I call the people in the top if we had the ego and the ego was playing out perfectly in an individual, it would pick a psychopath to leech to. That's all I'm saying. It would pick the psychopaths to, good morning, Reggie, to latch on to? Why would it pick the psychopaths? Because they don't have a filter. They don't care. They don't process the same way we do. The ego's agenda could be beautifully put on a platter through the psyche of a psychopath. Simple. Not a bad thing. This is not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just understanding how things work and operate. The ego seeps into the psychopath. The psychopath says, oh, ego is totally on play. What does the ego want? Well, in a psychopath or a sociopath or a narcissist, they typically want power control. They get sort of excited when they have that fear-based stuff, right? But they don't necessarily feel the process emotion the same way. They sort of don't have this emotional piece going on. So they don't feel bad. They don't feel bad. They can't feel bad. They can't understand. They can't process the emotion the way they don't have compassion. They don't have empathy. They don't understand what that means. So of course the ego is going to attach to people like that. We're just seeing it start to magnify now. We're just seeing it from the bigger scope and we're looking at it and we're going, holy shit. Now here's the deal. The ego lives within you, but you don't have to play out the ego's agenda because you, like most people, are not psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists. Most people have a conscience and have empathy and compassion and emotion and love, and they can process these feelings. That's what we need right now. So people, if they can just steer away from the ego and start to focus on love and compassion for one another, I think that we're be in a good spot. But I really wished that this message was what was being blasted all over social media. And it's not. The ego sort of winning the battle right now in social media. Okay. But the ego isn't winning the battle in our connection to family and love, which is awesome because we as humans are resilient. We as humans know better. We as humans understand. And I think that the love that is going to sprout up will, it's almost like, think about it. It's like if everybody just woke up to love and remembered who they are, kind of the ego might just like, oh, it's going to come back, but it might at least give us time to breathe so we're not suffocating. Stop the suffocation, please. Ask yourself, am I part of the reason that I'm suffocating people? I can't do it. I just can't. It's exhausting for me at this point, really, literally. And I'm just trying to keep myself above water here. But that's the raw, authentic Natalie talking, the truth, right? Because I'm human. I am stuck in this crazy world right now. But I'm going to make the best of it. And this is how I'm going to do it. Prepare. Prepare through love. Get your information and start making moves that are important to you. Do it with your family. Love your family. Okay. Yes, practice more detachment. Absolutely. Get away because social media is winning right now. The ego's full on blast in social media. At least for my social media platforms, it's never been this way. So I'm going, whoa, what is this? I've never experienced this on social media ever. I've enjoyed social media. I've sort of liked it. I was like, this is cool. I like it. Some people don't. Some people are like, and then they have all this stuff. But right now, it's a total battlefield. And I'm like, I'm not here to stand for battling. I'm here to stand not for separation. I'm here to stand for unity and love. 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 Okay. Remember, what is to be is to be. What's going to happen is going to happen. Nothing can stop what's going to happen, but we have the ability to engage it the way we choose. Okay. So remember who you are. Absolutely love you guys so much. Um, please stay strong. Not sure what's going on in your neck of the woods, around the world. But I will say this. nothing will stop what's going to happen. You can't stop what's going to happen. And we can engage it from a powerful place if we understand that we have the power within us to do what we need to do. So find your power, source your power, recognize when the ego's showing up. Don't let the ego play you. Okay. Self-realization through self-recognition offers us balance, natural instincts. Yes. And just becoming friends with the ego, please. Just come become friends with it, know that it's there, but don't let it be in the driver's seat at this time. There's too much of that at this point. We need to sort of allow love to lead this. Not easy task. I know. It's hard for me too, but that's what I stand for. And I'm going to continue, and I'm going to fight this spiritual warfare, and I'm a warrior. And so I'm going to continue to come back to love. Okay? Phew, good. Glad I got that out. Hopefully a little bit more, yeah. Self knowledge 101, subdue the ego. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, God, it's like looking at the ego, right? It's like, how remember we are love and support you. Thank you. Thanks, Mama. Appreciate that. The ego. That's right. It could be our greatest ally if we utilize it properly. Remember that. Okay. Just don't let it take over. Humility, meekness. Yes, I love that as well. Humility is a huge one. That's a hard one too. We all love you too. We love you too, Suze. Thank you. Humility is important. Apply your wisdom. Yes, apply your wisdom. Oof. Oof, it's been a heavy year so far. Oh my God. Oof. Okay, and I look like a hot mess, but it's all good. I do a live video through Facebook, so I was thinking about changing the platforms. Thought maybe I shouldn't do Facebook anymore. It's just, but I'm still here. So we'll see. God's orders, right? I captain, I listen to God. All right. So I love you guys. Have a great Monday. Today is Monday, in case you didn't remember. I'll remind you guys what day it is on these. Um, have a great Monday. I hope everything is good. I send so many blessings and love and kindness and healing to all of you and your families, and that everybody's safe and that they get through this crazy time, and that they find clarity in all of the craziness and chaos, and that you guys find your balance and peace and harmony. Okay, love you. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.